In today's video, I'm going to show you a free AI image generator, and you can use this commercially, so don't worry about that. It's called Blue Willow. It is similar in some ways to Midjourney, but it's a lot less advanced. In this video, I use it to create coloring book images, and it works pretty well in some respects. In others, not so well. But if you use it for what it's good at, then you can use this tool to make free coloring book images for your KDP books. I upload videos on every aspect of KDP, from book creation to metadata and research methods. And if you're interested in all things KDP, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out. On with the video. We'll start by looking at the Blue Willow terms of service. It's always a good idea to look at these things, and the important things in this instance are the restrictions and then also the terms of use for the free version. As you can see, it's a short paragraph for restrictions, basically saying you may not reverse engineer the source code, and you may not use the service in any way that infringes on the IP rights of others. So basically you can't use it to generate images of, say, The Simpsons and then try and sell those images. But all pretty straightforward. And then this is the free version. The assets you create on Blue Willow may be used by you for any purpose that is not illegal or violates this agreement. And your assets will be published on a public server. It also says that by using the free version of the service, you grant Blue Willow and its successors and assigns a perpetual, worldwide, non-exclusive, sub-licensable, no-charge, royalty-free, irrevocable license to reproduce, make derivatives, etc., etc. So it's saying there that your images will be public, and then also that you're granting Blue Willow and its successors the right to use any images you publish. In the paid version, it's slightly different in that you will be able to do it privately, and it says here that Blue Willow will have no rights or licenses to use assets created using the paid service. And here the paid version will also grant you access to additional services not available to users of the free version. Now, I've messed about in the free version and I've not noticed anything that's particularly limiting at the minute, but that could change as things progress. And this is the Blue Willow Discord. This is a private chat with the bot available in the free version. To start a private conversation, just when you're in the public servers, find the Blue Willow logo and then click on it, and it'll give you an option to privately message. So it is very similar to Midjourney. You start with the prompt imagine, and then here you type in whatever you want. So I'll just put realistic drawing of a cat, and it just takes a little while, and then the image is generated. And there we go, a realistic drawing of a cat. Now, to make colouring books with this, we'll use the prompt imagine. So we'll start off with colouring book image cat, and just see what generates. And this is what is generated. So I just used the prompt cat, and it's brought up these complex images which can be used as colouring book images. They are a bit, there's a lot of shading in these ones here. This one's not so much, so I can imagine that one being used. And that one there, again, quite complex, but there's not as much shading. And now I'm going to use a prompt that I've used in Midjourney before. In Midjourney, it generated these sort of colouring book images. Again, quite complex. Now let's see what it brings up in Blue Willow. And here we go again. Very complex images, just of the bear's head. that's probably useless. This one's not too bad, it's got a bit of a mandala effect, but they are a lot more complex compared to the ones generated in Midjourney. Complex and also confusing. Now these simple images were generated in Midjourney using the following prompt I'm about to put into Blue Willow, just to see how that works. So this is what was generated by using the exact same prompt that I used in Midjourney. Not really simple at all. And I did add the word colouring book to the same prompt, and we'll get more colouring book images. Now these are slightly better than the ones that we had previous. There's not as much shading, but they are still very complex. And from my trial and error, I've found it very difficult to create simple images. So I'll try a few prompts. I'll show you the prompts. I'll show you what the program generates, and then I'll show you some that I've done that may be a little bit more simple. These are perfectly fine for adult colouring books, but for children's books they're a little bit too complex. So here are some images that are generated using the prompt: subject, style of colouring book, black and white, simple, no background. And I would say those are all unusable as colouring book images. Maybe this one might be a bit interesting to have a black background and then white to colour in. This one here was a slightly different prompt: dog, colouring book image, vector, simple, no background. Generated those. Again, they are very, very detailed, really, really complex images, which would work with adult colouring books but not children at all. Here are some more images. Cats. This is a pig mandala head. Obviously mandalas are going to be complex anyway. On these examples I started using the word cartoon just to try and get something more appropriate for a children's book, and that one's not too bad, although it's not particularly cartoony. These are all nonsense. When you find something that you like and you think you might be able to use, you run variations of it, and then you upscale the image to make it a higher resolution. And you want to do that before you start putting them into your publication. Cartoon cats, again, not as good as the ones generated in Midjourney. Now, because it was spitting out pretty complex patterns, I thought it would be a good idea to try and make a totem pole image. So with the prompt colouring book image totem pole, no colour, simple, black line, white background, these are what were generated. Very complex, but if you're targeting the book at adults, they want complex images. And some of the images that were coming out previous without the totem prompt were coming out pretty, still looking quite like this anyway, so that's what gave us the idea. I even tried just the prompt simple colouring book image, and these are nice images, don't get us wrong, but they're not simple. And then for this monstrosity, what on earth is happening here? I used the prompt fun, cartoony, colouring book image, no colour. I doubt that would go down well in a children's book either. This is using the same prompt, but I used the word house instead, and this is a little bit more acceptable. It's still more complex than just a simple square with a triangle on top. But again, these images could be used in an adult colouring book, and if you want to do something different other than those mandalas or freaky faces. And there are some more images with the same prompt. And this is what was created when the subject was changed to beach. Now for the next images I changed it up a little bit. I went for fun, cartoony image of children's toys. Adding the word children in there might make it a bit more, it might just trigger something in the prompt. And it is simple in some respects. Like down here there's simple characters, simple car, simple building, but put all together it's a bit of a mess. And what has happened to that poor little doggy's face? And that looks a bit like Peppa Pig's head with wheels. This is more children's toys. Again, we're getting simple elements through. Like the big shapes at the front, but then it's got all this madness in the background. And again, there's too much going on for a children's colouring book. This one's a little bit different. The ones at the bottom are certainly more clear. There's less detail in them. Now there's a very simple house with windows. There's a simple, almost oriental tower. And this one here again, simple characters. They're a bit off. And buildings in the background. This is a different prompt, modern cartoon style image of children's toys, colouring book style, no colour, black and white. And it's thrown up interesting concepts. Like this one down here is very interesting. I'll run some variations on this one and we'll see what we'll get. Black and white image of a colouring book for kids, cute penguin, digital stamp. And now we'll start getting simpler images, but there's still this complex nonsense in the background. But that's, obviously there's not much colouring to do on a penguin, but that's the sort of image that we're after. And again, here's the same prompt with no background, and here's a similar prompt. I put no background in, but I forgot to add no colour, and it's brought colourful simple penguins, but there's still a whole heap of nonsense in the background. Again, a similar prompt with the word no colour. So here are the variations. They are very simple, and this one up here looks pretty cool. I like that. Got a load of black geometric lines in the background, but that's probably not a problem. I might upscale that one and upscale this one and see where we're at. So to upscale, you click on the U and then it upscales the image to a higher resolution. So this is the first image I upscaled, and I'm not too displeased with that. He's got some sort of musketeer vibe going on, but it's a simple face. Clothing's a bit more complex, so maybe not aimed at young kids. And this is the second image. Looks like a couple of people having a laugh in a magician's hat with feet. Again, there are simple elements in there, so we can use this prompt that we've discovered and try different variations on it to see if we can get something a bit better. Here are a few more prompts I've tried just now. I tried a batch together so you wouldn't have to keep on dropping in and out of the video. This is colouring page for kids, cute dog, digital stamp. So this is the same as the penguin above, but it's a dog. And as you can see, very complex. They've got coloured backgrounds in the background, so even though I used the prompt no background, it didn't work. This dog here is really the only image that you would colour in, but it's got pencils around it. Maybe try and negative prompt them out, so I'll try that next. Here's modern style image, so that's the same as the freaky children's toys we were doing. And these are very complex. I added empty background to it, and it's made these sort of ones here. And this is just a generic modern cartoon style image. Colour and book style, no colour, black and white only. And again, we've gone to the unfathomable complexity. And on this prompt here, I've used negative prompts. So no pencils, no detail in the background. And it's kind of followed in the fact that there's no detail in the background of any of them, or pencils. But this isn't a colouring book image. That one is, but very complex, as is that one there. So you can use this free AI generating software to make colouring books, but probably not along the simpler ends yet. Certainly not the prompts I've discovered. And these prompts are prompts that worked very well in Midjourney to create simple children's book images, but for some reason Blue Willow wants to impress you and add more detail. So adult colouring books, yes, definitely. I was given some really interesting patterns and designs, but not so good on the less complex images. And here's one more example of some prompts. Colouring page for kids, cute dog, digital stamp. It's brought up, that dog there would be fine, but you've got all this gum from the background. That's not a bad dog, really. So I'll run some variations on number 1. And then down here, change the word to cat. And these are all pretty complex. Again, perfectly fine images to colour in, especially that one, apart from the blue nose. But too complex for children. And here are the variations on that dog. Still quite simple. Whether you want to use them on a children's book or not is up to you. And I think the secret is to find an image that you like to find an image that you think is appropriate for the book you're doing, and then run variations of that. So that is it for today's video. To sum up briefly, yes, you can use Blue Willow commercially for free, and you can use it to generate colouring book images, just not for kids really. Over the next couple of videos I'm going to show you some instances where you can use Blue Willow to create your low content books, and it does work really well. Colouring books, it's probably a little bit behind Midjourney, but for a free piece of software you can use it. It works well enough as long as you target it correctly. It's also a good place to practice prompt writing and to experiment for free. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you next time.